Those cases that BCI have been involved in are just extraordinary.
We are on the cutting edge.
Driving forward with this technology, it's very important to stay ahead.
I mean, it's playing such a vital role right now.
It's definitely rewarding to be able to solve a case and, help an agency, help a victim's family.
It's amazing, actually.
The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation was founded in 1921 as a record-keeping agency housed at the Ohio Penitentiary in Columbus. Inmates performed much of the work, including organizing fingerprint records. When a fire at the prison killed 322 inmates in 1930, BCI was moved to London. In the 1930s, BCI added ballistics, and in 1949 they did their first polygraph exam. Then, in 1959, the Bureau moved into its own 11,000 square foot facility and changed its name to the Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Identification. In 1963, BCI and I officially became part of the Ohio Attorney General's office and gained responsibilities. In the 1970s, labs were moved to Richfield and Fremont, and BCI reorganized into 5 divisions: identification, laboratory, investigations, administration, and data systems. As part of the update, the Bureau started computerizing criminal histories and established an organized crime bureau, which would later become Special Investigations. In 1980, BCI started marijuana eradication, and in 1983 bought its first mass spectrometer used to identify drugs. And in 1985, BCI put its first narcotics canine into service.
In 1991, police converged on a Bath Township home and for a week dug for answers in a 13-year-old mystery. They found the scattered bones.
In the late 1980s, the infamous serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 17 men, mostly in Wisconsin, but his first killing took place in Bath, Ohio, in 1978. That crime wasn't discovered until 1991, after Dahmer was caught. In this photo, BCI was recruited to investigate the crawl space under the home where he had lived. They found evidence of a young hitchhiker Dahmer had murdered.
Captain Greg Lang, then a detective, recalls the circus-like atmosphere.
In the 1990s, the roles of modern-day BCI started to take shape. In 1994, the computerization of criminal fingerprint cards. In 1995, the regional office in Bowling Green opened, and the aviation unit was formed. In 1996, Ohio passed Megan's Law, requiring the classification of sex offenders, and designated BCI the agency responsible for the data. That same year, BCI also implemented DrugFire, a high-tech method of linking bullets, cartridge cases, and weapons from serial shootings. And in 1997, BCI established a cyber crimes unit, and LiveScan enabled the acceptance of electronic fingerprint transactions, allowing for rapid identification of suspects.
Samuel Legg III has been indicted in a 1992 murder case and a 1997...
A notable case for agents working in the late 1990s, Samuel Legg's identity was unknown to BCI at the time of his crimes, but the Bureau had been after him for years. CODIS DNA records had linked the same man to the murders of 3 women from 92 to 97. A familial DNA test and the Crime Intelligence Unit's continuing work would pay off in 2019 when Legg was finally arrested, initially on charges related to a 1997 rape in Medina County.
And boom, turns out his brother is in the system.
Upon being indicted
in 1998, the Bureau was accredited by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, CALEA, for the first time, putting it among an elite 4% of law enforcement agencies nationwide, and only 5 accredited state crime labs. A regional office was opened in Youngstown. In 2001, the dedication of the regional office in Richfield was halted as people at the event learned of the 9/11 terror attacks at the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. In 2003, BCI launched the Ohio Law Enforcement Gateway, OLEG, which is still used today. The following years, the Bureau established a clandestine drug lab unit and introduced the RAP-BAC system for background checks. In 2009, BCI introduced robotics to speed up DNA casework and submitted the first rapid ID transaction to the FBI. And in 2011, a regional office opened in Athens to enhance polygraph and evidence collection services in the region, as Ohio law changed to require anyone charged with a felony to submit a DNA sample for CODIS. The past decade has seen BCI experts called to assist in major national cases. In 2011, analysis provided by the Bureau proved evidence of Richard Beasley's guilt, the Craigslist killer. In 2012, BCI assisted in the investigation of the highly publicized Steubenville High School rape case by conducting more than 50 interviews and analyzing 16 cell phones with more than 360,000 texts, 300,000 photos, and 900 videos.
May 6, 2013, the gritty heartland city of Cleveland witnessed a miracle.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm free now.
In 2013, BCI forensic scientists helped refute Ariel Castro's claims he treated his victims well after he held them captive in his Cleveland home for more than a decade. In 2013 and 14, BCI grew even more to a regional office in Cambridge and the 30,000 square foot state-of-the-art crime lab at Bowling Green State University. Modern-day BCI continues to prove its excellence with accreditations from today's premier agencies, the latest technology, and expert staff. Under the current administration, ongoing dedication of BCI staff led to the eventual guilty plea by Jake Wagner in April. He confessed to his role in the highly publicized murders of 8 family members in Pike County, bringing a 5-year-long case to a close. The cold case and special victims units have been formed, and in recognizing BCI's expertise to investigate officer-involved critical incidents, the Bureau will investigate these cases for the State Highway Patrol, Columbus Division of Police, and many other law enforcement agencies throughout Ohio, helping ensure fairness in the eyes of the public. From a records bureau employing Ohio's inmates to a premier investigation agency, Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigation is ready to embrace the challenges of the next 100 years.
The significance of BCI turning 100 is what we see in Ohio government as a whole and what we see at the leadership of the Attorney General's office.
I thought, being in law enforcement for almost 4 decades, I knew what BCI was all about. I had no clue when I came here. Things like the public corruption unit, what the lab does specifically with trace and with firearms. One of the areas that really goes unnoticed is the identification unit.
We do 1.6 million plus background checks a year. We handle about 300 telephone calls a day. Also take care of any records that come from the courts that need to be sealed or reviewed. We just went into a big change with our new automated biometric system, which includes our background checks. We are electronically changing over our paper records to an electronic file. So we're going to do the first 3 million records, hopefully have them done by the end of December.
During this administration, there's been a renewed interest in cold cases, and we have some phenomenal investigators. We have a whole cold case unit.
Many years ago, and what we see in these cold cases sometimes is that the testing either wasn't available or wasn't even thought about. So we have investigators' pictures in cases where they're holding things with their bare hands. Definitely we're not thinking about the DNA testing that we have now. The kits that we're using now and the type of testing we're doing, we can get a lot more with less, and that should continue to progress.
And right now we're actually in the process of acquiring automated extraction for DNA. We partnered with Battelle to develop mitochondrial DNA analyses with massively parallel sequencing. And we're one of, I think, probably 2 or 3 labs that do it currently. It's amazing. Cases that were not solved, from eons ago and are now getting solved, with the cold case unit's help. And a lot of it is the review of data.
Just imagine one of those major cases and the impact it has on a police department and an organization. It's a once-in-a-career investigation, potentially.
I think in terms of cases, the I-270 shooter was huge. It was international news, and we had a heavy presence in that case and helped significantly in that case. Then also the Sarah Maynard case out of Knox County, where a young lady was kidnapped, her family was killed. With the Sarah Maynard case, myself, Danny Winterich, were in the garage. He sees a trash bag on the ground and says, "We've got him." Just that little bit. He saw it and said, "We've got him," because we knew that the suspect brought that particular item into the house. The experience and talent in this agency is just breathtaking sometimes.
The Attorney General really does value law enforcement, and therefore he authorized this enhancement of the OLEG system. So our records management system is a total case management system now, and it really will give law enforcement the tools that they need to create those incident reports, use of force reports, electronic citations, crash reports. It's just going to astound agencies what we have available for them.
Because this whole organization was built on good people. And that's where we become one of the premier agencies, BCIs, in the country, is because of our staff.
We've morphed into being able to provide independent investigative abilities for officer-involved critical incidents.
We've presented at the National Sheriff's Association on that. We will be presenting at the International Chiefs of Police Association in a month. And those are the kind of things we want people and organizations to come to us and ask, how in the world are you guys doing that? Because you're doing it the right way.